Hello, I'm Nightmaaron, and welcome back to the letter. So, we left off in a bad way. We killed Rebecca. So, I actually had a save file, because I saved back and forth, so we could go back and correct our error. I didn't like how I ended that, so, yeah, we're back here. We're going to head for the door this time. If there's one, it is out of this room, out of this place, as far as anyone can get from her. I can think about the rest of what I can do after I'm outside, when there are other people I can ask for help. When she's not chasing after me like this. There's no hesitation in my steps as I race for the restricted section's door, head downstairs and barrel straight for the library's exit. Towards safety in a desperate bid for my life, library rules be damned. I can no longer hear her behind me, but I'm not taking any chances. A breath almost escapes me as I near the door. A little more, when out of nowhere, a library cart careens from a blind corner and slams to my sides. My back hits the floor with a hard thud, the impact completely knocking the breath out of me. The copper tang of blood gradually spreads over my tongue as I fight to get my bearings back. I force myself to move, even with the excruciating pain coursing through my limbs. The exit's almost there, if I can only... But there's no moment's respite. The next thing I know, there's a heavy weight atop me and cold digits slide around my neck, tight like a vice, pressing, closing in, leaving me gasping for air. Through my blurred vision, I can only make out the hateful gleam, the spite in her eyes as she looms over my body and grips my throat, or her grip on my throat grows tighter. Desperation kicks in. My nails dig into her wrist as I struggle against her firm grip, trying to pry her fingers away.
Let go.
Oh, God.
Let me go.
Get fight with him. Okay. Oh, shit. No! No! Too strong. Her hold on me is too strong. My lungs begin to ache, burning with lack of air, the pain growing worse with every second I writhe under her punishing grip.
Somebody help me.
Darkness starts to fill the edges of my vision, and soon the world fades. Yes, we're gonna continue. Come on. Oh. I don't... Oh. Damn it. Oh, I see. Oh, I thought I had to click. I'm so dumb. So dumb. There we go. I don't think twice. My limbs are moving on their own before what I did could fully register in my brain and my lungs could recover. Behind me, she lets out a cry, sharp, loud, and thunderous against the empty walls of the library. But the fear her wells brings compares nothing to the relief washing over me when I finally make it out. My knees buckle as soon as my feet hits the pavement, its surface cold and hard against my skin. I've only been there a few hours, about 1 or 2 probably. I don't know anymore. It feels like an eternity all the same. My breathing hasn't slowed down yet, and I don't expect it to after going through that. I probably look most undignified creature on a Sunday morning right now, out of breath, disheveled, slumped here with a bloodied up lip and all. But at present, I simply can't bring myself to care even when a few passerbys start giving me strange looks. Stare at me all you want, I don't give a single shite. I'm alive, I'm safe, and this isn't the end yet, but I'm safe. And inside my bag is something that could get us out of this mess. Nothing definite yet, I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's still something. If Isabella is here, I'm sure she'll feel the same. She'll even be the first one who will put her faith on it. Whatever this will lead us to a victory on its own. Now, all that's left is to find the others, the rest of us trapped in this bloody nightmare. Right on cue, as if an answer to my previous thought, my mobile lets out a beep. I pick it up, simply hoping it'll be one of them. Only it's a voicemail that greets me. From Ashton. There's a ping of disappointment, of course, but it brings some reassurance that nothing's happened to at least one of them.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
He ends it right there, the message less than a minute long, curt and gives nothing away. I let it ease my worries regardless and do as he asks, because this too is another triumph for us. One less thing to worry about. The journal updated, and now we're on to Ashton. Parties have never really been my thing. They're always such hassles and take so much time off my day. Prior plans and commitments canceled, all for the sake of playing along with others.
Welcome everyone.
I hated them even as a child.
Please, make yourselves at home.
But Mom often insisted she'd slick my hair back, put me in one of those stuffy dinner jackets, and if there were any children around, urged me to make friends. Never mind how utterly loud and tedious it was all for the sake of keeping up appearances. To some extent, lies have already surrounded me long before I chose what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, there were easy ways to tune everything out, and much to my mom's frustration, I always managed to sneak my CD player along. I kept to myself and to my music, had my own little world, until I learned to observe. It's a simple matter of awareness, really, and for someone with keen eyes, a skewed necktie or a simple flick of a wrist alone could tell volumes about a person. I still don't like parties, especially ones as big and fancy as the Wrights' housewarming. However, when there's an actual reason to go to them, I figure they're not too bad.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Besides, like it or not, it's all part of the job. I'm here on a mission. One that has the name Luke Wright plastered all over it. You'd think the man would want to remain inconspicuous after his name was linked to several high-profile crimes across Luxborn. Granted, most of them have gone cold over the years, having stagnated without any lead or evidence, but that still doesn't make him any less of a suspect. Yet here he is, throwing a party in his own backyard. Although, having observed the man the past year, I'm not even shocked. He craves it, the damn spotlight. Consistently yearns for attention like a neglected puppy. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why he's nowhere to be found in his own party. But that's not the problem here. What pisses me off is how far his reach extends, how close he has creeped into the lives of people I care about. Again, like a stubborn itch you couldn't be rid of. First, Professor Clark. Then there's Isabella. I also spotted Z-Man here a while ago. And now there's also Rebecca, apparently.
Ashton?
Becca, what are you doing here?
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
That explains things, and makes things difficult all the same. As if getting a contact among the staff to sneak a name into the guest list isn't hard enough. The guy almost ditched me last night and might have placed another setback on my investigation if it wasn't for my generous tip. If I could talk. Then here comes Rebecca, another person to mind.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
A necessary lie. I can't bring my own friends into this any further than what they've found themselves in. Because if Luke Wright so much as harms a hair on either Zach's or Rebecca's heads, there will be hell to pay. Worrying about Isabella's brief dealings with him is stressing in itself already. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people, though. It would tarnish his glorious reputation and his values appearances more than anything. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of it, more than in fact, and on the off chance he does something, I wouldn't be responsible for my actions.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can...
For Zach's and Rebecca's sakes, however, I really hope this'll simply be another housewarming. even though something tells me it's anything but. Call it a detective's intuition or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come out of it, and I can't let my guard down here. Even so, when a familiar car slows to a stop and out comes...
Chief?
My presence here might be odd at best, but I have an excuse. One that this man's handed to me himself a year ago, along with a heavy dose of flattery for the newly promoted detective inspector. Can't exactly say the same for my good old boss, can I? Although, to see him here, chatting it up with Luxborn's rich and famous, isn't such a big surprise in itself. No disrespect meant, but the guy is obviously a social climber. What is surprising is the fact that he seems all too eager to mingle with a person of interest's wife. Just what the hell is he doing here?
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about...
What the shit is going on here?
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
I don't want to draw attention to myself either, at least until he's given me proper reason to spoil his little party.
Thank you for the invite, Anna.
Anna.
Husband still missing, I see.
I hate how he talks.
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again.
For now, the best I can do is wait and remain inconspicuous, especially with Chief here, whose motives are dubious at best. If it means having to pretend I don't know Zach and Rebecca or forcing myself to rub elbows with people I barely know, let alone like, then so be it. I can't involve anyone. Wandering is out of the question as well, when there are guests and civvies stationed here and there. Sure, getting past them is something I could do with ease, but I'd rather not right now. When I'm one of the few snooping and roaming about, it's best to try and do so once there's a crowd of people. And if their interior designers' drunken claims are to be believed...
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing.
It'll all come down to how well I'll play my cards tonight. With a good hand, this party is going to give me the breakthrough I need to crack Luke Wright, or something to prove my suspicions wrong. Maybe find out what kind of game my boss is also playing. I've had an inkling before, a few hunches tampered down by how much of a bumbling fool the man appears. But one does simply not deal with the Wrights and get invited to a party they host without wanting anything from either two. Or it's the other way around. So with a last wary glance at the two, I head into the ballroom. I just hope this will not complicate things further. Shit. By the time the party's in full swing, night has fallen, yet there still isn't a Luke Wright in sight. The man can be quite ostentatious, but this, frankly, I'm impressed. I don't even know how many hors d'oeuvres I've already stuffed my face with. One too many, probably. The servers are already giving me the stink eye every time I saunter over to the buffet table. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area. Despite standing under the same roof with the very people they're whispering about, some just couldn't resist. I might as well keep an ear out for any useful info.
Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem? Tech problem?
It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
He might have already.
If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past few months suggests anything, that or someone has been pulling the strings. I wouldn't be shocked. This case would have gone this long if Scumbag didn't have a mule of some kind in the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened.
Fair. Glad I did not have to deal with that. But keep it down, someone might hear. The wife especially.
This kind of negligence has always been an advantage, but sometimes I wish I could be smashed drunk while doing this. Having sharp ears also means you get to hear the most unsavory things. Who's cheated on who this week, one person's motive for bashing someone's skull against the wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive, that sort of stuff. After a few years, it gets tiring and you get desensitized to it. That humans could also be downright awful. Sometimes there isn't simply enough brain bleach in the world. I know that. Sadly, the wine is a no-go tonight, and mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later, for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. And something always comes up in assignments like this. A detective inspector dying out of cardiac arrest, for example. Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt the second I shift my eyes to the corner of the ballroom.
Hannah Wright.
Some will say I'm acting a touch bit paranoid, and maybe I am. This is a party and she's the hostess. It goes to say that she'd take her time to mingle with the guests. But Hannah Wright, nay Evans, isn't without her fair share of accolades. At least to the public, she doesn't seem like it. And like her husband, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company, or effectively hide whatever irregularity there may be. She's clean as far as my agent and I have found, but it doesn't rule out the possibility of involvement in whatever her husband's up to. Even with Z-Man's personal opinion of the woman, there are certain gut feelings you really can't shake off. Hell, Luke Wright came out of clean in previous reports until I bothered to take a deeper look into it. What I found may not be sufficient to bring anyone to trial yet, but it's enough to nurture suspicion. This may be a bit of overaction, but no one lasts long in my line of work being careless.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Nothing to be worried about then. She's probably even more careful with appearances than her own husband, having grown up with the spotlight focused on her. Yet even knowing that, the anxiety stays. Has been here since the party started. I brushed it off earlier. Who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I've gone undercover in a party and hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky and has plenty of room for error. Usually, though, the tension passes around the first hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier and seeks to overwhelm. An odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's... It sounds like somebody breathing, like... That's creepy. I hope you guys can hear that in the recording. It has been like this since last week, but I should already be used to this. People would be looking at me, no matter how small or big of a blip I am on their radar. That's what they do in these things. But when the feeling of eyes burning into the back lingers longer than necessary, I've been looking around every now and then to catch the culprit. No luck. That's because it's Grudge Lady. And despite my efforts to push the sensation as far down as I could, tiny pinpricks continue to sting the back of my head, and the ghost of the cold touch creeps up my limbs. Until my gauge switches back to Rebecca and Hannah Wright. I like how her eye twitches. That's creepy. She stands there, dark-haired and dirty, sticking out like a sore thumb. Even so, no one seems to notice. Although she's looking away from me, her mere existence here strikes. Disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision binds while I stand stock still and gape at her, like my life depends on making sure she stays where she is. I feel trapped in her presence until another guest bumps into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I've been holding my breath. Ooh. But before I could figure out what happened, she's gone. A quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing's amiss. I'm not really one to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would have not been allowed into a fancy thing like this. What has the security been doing? Are they really that incompetent for someone so distinct to easily get in without notice? There should have been an outcry by now, particularly from the host. She's been standing almost an arm's length away from the woman, and yet she simply continues to talk with Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food then? Am I starting to see things? It couldn't have been the wine, though. I'm every bit as sober as when I first stepped off my car. The hors d'oeuvres? But why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Wright want to do that? He's fishy, but I couldn't see why he'd ever think it'd be a good idea to lace the food he'd serve in his party, with someone like Chief Lee on his guest list to boot. He has been linked to narcotics trades, yep, however, that kind of tactic is below him. That much I could tell. Unless there's a mass murder waiting to happen here tonight, which I highly doubt. So...
What the fuck was that?
But there's no time to look deeper into this, even if I want to. Not when a telling silence comes up upon the room and draws everybody's attention to the main doors of the ballroom.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents.
Scumbag.
Enjoying the party. I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
I've been telling this guy for a while now. Before that, I've heard stories from previous officers who tackled this case, none of which are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the incident with Professor Clark yet. Pleasant is glossing over the gravity of it. While Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing, he's shown to be a really rotten guy. At least, that's the case when he thinks nothing of his peers are around to judge him. I've lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases the guy could be pinned with. Standing in the same room as him doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Actually, the urge is stronger, but protocols, my case first and foremost. My own opinion of the man shouldn't get ahead of my purpose here. If I want to put him in his place, it should be in a court with all proper charges filed against him. And I'll be the only one to do that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone.
Pressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd. Amidst the cheers and claps, now's a good time as any to move. Try to find something that McCullough woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slimeball himself. A fake smile is plastered on my face while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him, all while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Unfortunately, before I could get any further...
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle?
Well, here's the scene.
Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have two ways to resolve their mess. Either they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they create an even greater problem out of it, and it just blows up in everybody's faces, one way or the other. Fun.
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
Not even a few seconds in, and this is already proving itself to be a big public spectacle. Why spend money on a television to buy daytime soap operas? You could just go to one of these parties and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food too. Really, if I were an actual guest, I'd just take this as some sordid form of amusement.
Watch your tongue. You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
Ugh. But I'm not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him, even though this whole sorry tell. So I wait, I listen, and I observe. Interesting, isn't it though? That's the chief inspector's wife. Okay. I think I'm going to save here. And we're going to overwrite this save file. No, actually, I'm going to overwrite this save file. Because I think I may go back and play to see how much different it changes with Rebecca dying. But we're going to mainly keep doing this one with Rebecca still alive. So, yeah. And we've got one more person to play after Ashton. That's Luke. And we got some new journal entries here. me find them. Luke and Kylie invited Rebecca for dinner as she was about to leave. Despite receiving a text message from Ashton, Rebecca agreed that the three spent the evening at a nearby coffee house. Upon returning to her flat, she found a note that Ashton had left her. Isabel and Ashton arrived at Salem while having an argument about the missing BRC employee's investigation. Annoyed by the noise, Rebecca interfered and in the end asked Ashton to keep an open mind. Is there any more? Let's see. Oh, there's two. As she was about to leave the party, Rebecca caught sight of a sulking Luke. She reminded him that brooding wouldn't fix anything and that he should be with his wife instead. Before leaving the embarrassed man, Rebecca caught a glimpse of the shadow standing behind him. Rebecca found Ashton waiting for her upon exiting the mansion. Frustrated because he was nowhere to be found during the entire party, she demanded to know what was going on. When he couldn't give her an answer, the two ended up having a huge fight. With the help of Professor Andrew Clark, Rebecca was able to gain access to Luxmorton's library's restricted section. In there, she discovered numerous accounts of the Ermengardes, all hidden from the public. Her research was interrupted, however, when a terrified Zachary... What? That makes no sense. I don't like... However, her research was interrupted when... Okay. Rebecca was seen limping out of the Luxmorton Public Library late Sunday morning. Checking her mobile, a lone voicemail from Ashton was in it, telling her they need to talk ASAP. Okay. So we're going to cut this episode here. We're going to save again, actually. Right? Yes. If you like the playthrough, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to try and get some more of it done a lot faster here real soon, so we can get this series over with. Not that I don't enjoy it, it's just dragging on for a long time. Maybe even do a live stream about it. I don't know. Do you guys want to see me do this in a live stream? Let me know. Be nice to one another, and we'll meet in the next video. See you guys.